Good afternoon, evening, or good night. Welcome to episode 316 of the Unpaid and Underrated podcast, a podcast by the crew, for the crew, featuring the crew, completely developed by crew, starring crew, and that's a lot of crew. I'm here almost every week. I'm Big Joey. I am joined, of course, by Big Keith.
Howdy.
And Big Eddie.
Hey, how's it going?
Going all right, Big Eddie. Let's dive right in for the first time. We do a lot of diving right in around here. That's our MO. So, Keith, what are you drinking?
I'm following up last week's with another liquid death. This is the Severed Lime. I already had a couple sips. It is better than whatever. I can't remember which one I had last. I think I had
mango.
I had the mango last week. I had a berry, I think, in between. I did take your advice and get the plain sparkling water, the unflavored one, and it was actually it was surprisingly good. But this lime one is better than the other two flavors, and I'm not sure if it's better than the unflavored or not yet until I'm done with it, probably. But it's definitely better than the other two.
Nope, unflavored is the way to go. Big Eddie, what are you drinking down there?
I've got a beverage here called Henry Weinhard's Orange Cream. It's a gourmet soda made with cane sugar. Probably too sweet for the other podcast hosts, but I like it, and I'll be bringing a couple of flavors by this brand out with me to the Lift Hard Live Easy Classic. I always pick them up whenever I can out here, and when I'm a little bit further west, some of the grocery stores carry it. So I'll have some root beer, some black cherry, some orange cream, and some vanilla cream. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Good. I am copping out. I am just drinking a Ghost Greens supplement. I've been overdoing a little bit of the living easy lately, and I needed a bit of recovery, some electrolytes, some greens. After the thing with my arm we spoke about before recording, I was just like, nah, I'm gonna just get some. And then I ate like burgers for dinner and didn't really have a side, so we're just doing some greens. We're old, okay? We're old over here, so I'm just drinking some greens.
Wait, so since your son eats cucumbers every day, but you didn't eat a couple cucumbers with a burger?
Well, I had a couple of his because he wasn't eating them.
Okay.
But, like, that's not enough. This has also got like probiotics. Like the Ghost supplements are pretty darn good, right? Me and my stomach issues, I really wanted some probiotics today. I have a quick question though. You're in where right now, Eddie?
I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan right now.
Are you north of me right now?
I might be.
We're gonna Google that. You might actually be up north.
I mean, I'm like straight west of Detroit. Where are you at again?
I'm in Hamilton, so basically Toronto.
No, I'm south.
There's parts of Michigan that they go up that little mitt.
Oh, absolutely. Up there. Yeah. No, I'm just outside of Detroit. And in fact, if I hadn't been so busy this weekend, I was going to see if I could drive over to run into you.
Oh, that would have been amazing. But I'm also
would have been
slammed getting ready for the weekend, right?
Yeah.
Is there something going on this weekend everybody's getting ready for? It's the Lift Hard Live Easy Classic. So
that stuff. Little thing.
Right.
And it would have, for clarity, just to keep everyone on the same page, we were recording this podcast the Tuesday before the Lift Hard Live Easy Classic, but it's not going to come out until the Tuesday after. So this will not be the meat recap episode. Tune in next week for that one.
Or we could just do a completely fake meat
recap.
Yeah, I can't believe Jonathan Oldham did all of that. Can you believe this person showed up?
Are we going to predict who's going to bomb out?
Oh, big Matt for sure, right? One of the Matts.
I think we're going to get him on today to talk about it.
Yep, we'll get him on here in a little bit. That's actually good. That'll be a good topic to bring up when we get him on the horn.
Now, normally, I say, "Hey guys, what are you wearing?" And we all talk about our favorite Massonomics shirts, and then that leads into what got you into Massonomics. But it looks like I'm the only one dressed to the party. And now I understand you just came from work, Eddie. So I get it. Like you needed that collared shirt. But I think that we're all just Massonomics out at the moment because we're probably all packing away our favorite shirts.
but I've got the cozy going.
Yes, I got home from work today, and my wife frantically wanted me to get all my stuff packed so we could kind of verify if we need to do a carry-on or not, or a checked bag, that is, so we could fit everything in 2 carry-ons or not. So I had to pretty much get all my gear that I know I'm going to wear the next 3 or 4 nights packed up. So I, just kind of overwhelmed, and I was like, oh, it's 8:30, it's podcast time, and I'm still wearing my, house shirt, and didn't go out of my way to get a Bassnomics shirt on, and it wasn't going to go back upstairs to look for one because we were pretty much hitting record. So tune in next week, and I should be wearing a Bassnomics shirt.
If I have any left, I might just flex out of them at the Lift Hard Live Easy.
There you go.
Just put them on and flex hard out of them. All right. So moving on, let's get this last little segment out of the way before we get into the real diving in. We're just going to rate last week's episode. I'm going to go first because I haven't had a chance to listen to it. We are recording the same day that ours came out, which I also haven't listened to because I've only had the kids in my car. And with the kids in the car, you do not get to listen to anything that is not what they want to hear. The moment I turn on the radio and that little Bluey symbol comes up because the Bluey album's on there, that's all you're listening to for the next 2 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and give it 5 JD Power Associates.
It's a good rating. It probably earned it. You actually will enjoy it. So I listened to the whole thing yesterday on my drive to work. Nitro could talk, man. Dan they asked him one question. I don't even think they asked him a question, and he just immediately dove into a 45-minute conversation just about his entire history of steroid use and this, that, and the other. And it was actually a really, cool. I enjoyed that. It did motivate me to go, and I had already started the Muscles and Mayhem, but I think we only got like halfway through. But after listening to Nitro's episode, I went back and finished it. The one of the several negatives that I probably found, but the one I'll bring up the most is I don't know what was up with Nitro's audio, but Jesus, for a guy that claims he was doing podcast all day long, it was the worst audio in the world. No. It might have been better in AirPods or something, but listening to it through my Bluetooth in my work truck, I had to crank it just to be able to kind of make out what he was saying. It was very distorted, but great interview. Probably one of the more famous people, outside of, it's still fitness and everything, but it was a very obscure guest, but I really liked it. So I'll go ahead and give it 5 JD Powers. What about you, Big Eddie?
From what I've heard so far, I thought it was really good. I'm enjoying the intro and kind of the information. Pretty excited to, someday they say we're going to get another silly pint, maybe someday. So someday we might be able to add another silly pint to the cupboard and enjoying my wife being all annoyed with me about that. But, excited for that. Excited for the Jefferson deadlift competition winners. It was a good competition. I enjoyed it. I've kind of given up on ever winning again. And I've had other people tell me that because of my relationship with those guys that they don't think they'll ever let me win. And I'm okay with that because I still have a lot of fun. And, but it was a good competition and I enjoyed it. So really good episode. I'll also give it 5 JD Power Awards.
That's good. So I got a question for Joey here. I have a handful of questions. We don't get to all of them, but this one I kind of got, it made me chuckle. You were talking about how you all your tattoos were just kind of spontaneous, but just stuff that happened throughout your life and whatnot, however you described it. So how many episodes of the Unpaid and Underrated podcast would you need to record before you'll contemplate getting the Unpaid and Underrated podcast tattoo?
Oh,
so we have to hit 300, 150,
I don't know because I'm all tattooed out right now. We're not saying that one.
There's literally no pressure. It was just more of the last week you mentioned you got a Spider-Man tattoo because someone said, "Hey, go climb a ladder," and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a Spider-Man tattoo."
Oh, that was 3 years of, "Hey, you're the best on the ladder. Get up there," right?
So then that's the baseline. So 3 years. So if the podcast lasts 3 years, you get a podcast tattoo. You heard it first on episode 316.
Maybe. Yeah,
that was
whether you like it, you're
11
not.
Weeks
you're
in.
getting a tattoo.
Yeah, you're going to enjoy this whether you like it or not. I don't know. I don't. Right now, I'm just all tattooed out.
It might be a fake tattoo you get, but you're getting a tattoo.
I was wondering what that was. Just asked a tattoo question. I was like, oh, this could go anywhere.
Yeah, it kind of hit me. I think sometime this week. I don't even remember. I was like, oh, I'm gonna throw that in there. One. This is more of a quick follow up to because we had mentioned there was some Power Ranger talk last week of the theme song, and I think maybe the video game also. So right before, I just saw like not a meme, but just like the picture with some like captions on Facebook or whatever. It was basically a picture of Zordon from was it Zordon? Was that the guy that was just Zordon.
Zordon.
So that guy, whoever the actual actor was, filmed one day, filmed like 30 catchphrases or whatever, and they used that for the entire run of the first whatever, however often it was that particular Zordon. And they paid him $150 and never called him again. And that's
what about the movie though?
Yeah, I don't know about the movie, but like the whole point of that was like then, and they were trying to imply of like that's why the Screen Actors Guild is relevant and helpful. So take all that with a grain of salt. I literally saw it on like a 90s kids message Facebook group or something, but I don't know. Oh,
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and mute that guy. Actually, no, I'm not. Let's bring him in. You want in?
What does he think he's doing?
Give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up if you want in.
I want. Oh, all right. No. Not today.
Oh no, he's at a pickleball.
Who do you think you are?
we'll let him listen in though. We'll let him listen in.
Well, that was a good Power Rangers flow from last week.
Yeah.
Well, while we've got one of the hosts listening, you've got a little point here you wanted to bring up about the food Discord.
Yeah. We this is more of a Nate thing, but was it Nate that kind of pushed it, or other people had been asking about it, and Nate was kind of calling out the admins of the main Discord, and then a few days went by and nothing had been made in the main podcast thread. So we do have a private Discord basically for podcast guests and people, the founding fathers of the Unpaid and Underrated. So Nate went ahead and made up a food Discord, and then lo and behold, within 24 hours, there was a food and drink Discord in the main podcast. So, I don't know.
I think Tanner's just got the site to see what's coming.
Yeah. But no, that was just, friendly little rivalry. Because literally,
see you in a couple days, buddy.
We get nothing in our, our Discord is just the little sister, apparently. So we do all right, though. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, for those of you who clearly didn't catch on, one of the hosts from the sister podcast jumped in and decided to grace us just so that we could call him out on stealing our Discord.
And I am glad I went with the beard, because that beard blowing in the wind made me very happy with my choice last week, where I chose his beard over Tommy's hair. Mm. Speaking of beards, did Joey ask me to ask him about having a beard in a bar? Because you did mention you were a bartender. I'm assuming it was something to do with that. No,
it's all right. I just wanted you to remind me of this, because you texted me. We talked about beards last week a little bit, and I know Eddie's got a beard, and you've got a beard. And I don't think Eddie's going to go to bars very often. But do you guys know? I forget the name of it, but there's this rule that if you introduce a handgun in the first act of a play or a story, it has to be used in the final act. It's just a rule about writing, foreshadowing, and things like that. Okay.
I have not heard of that.
There's an actual phrase. I wish I had looked it up, because I was like, I gotta remember that phrase, but I've never remembered it. So the thing I've learned is if you're in a bar after 8 p.m. and if you're sitting by yourself or even with a friend or two, if anybody asks you about your beard, that person's going to try and fight you.
What?
It's a guarantee. And if there's anybody that's got a beard that ever goes in pubs or bars or anything, they can back me up.
This is from personal experience?
Yes. And the last time it happened, I was sitting, and the bartender is a friend of mine. So sometimes after work, I don't come home right away because it interrupts the kids going to bed. So daddy being home is a reason to not go to bed. So she'll just tell me, just go to the pub and eat and come home when you're done. Yeah. So I'm sitting there and I'm eating, and I just said something to the bartender, like the other guy, this guy had a beard, and I just said, like, I hope he's not going to ask me about my beard. And she says, why? I was like, because it's just, I know it's going to be something. Sure enough, the first words out of the guy's mouth are, hey, I like your beard. How long did it take you to grow it? And I looked at the bartender and I was like, here we go. probably an hour goes by, and this other person was with like in between us. And they go outside for a smoke, and they come back in, and then the lady that went out with him was like, "Yeah, this dude swears he's gonna fight you tonight." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." Like I know.
So random.
It's not though. It's a guarantee. If somebody asks you about your beard in a bar, they're gonna try and fight you before you go. So I just wanted to, you just asked me about the beard, and I was just like, just remind me to tell that story because
Good to know.
well, yeah, I mean, it might not come up for a lot of people, but
Yeah.
I also try not to go places after 8 p.m. if I can avoid it.
Well, speaking of people picking fights for no reason,
Yeah.
did everyone catch the guys on Instagram giving the drink spotter some hell this week? I think it was a couple different instances. Our buddy Gluck had a video where he dropped 800 pounds on the piece of shit squat rack, and the whole thing was like, "Hey, the drink spotter didn't move," and then someone in the comment said something to the extent of, "Oh yeah, if I'm failing an 800-pound squat, the last thing I'd be worried about is my fucking drink spotter falling," or something like that. And another guy said something to the extent of like, "If I ever see this in person, I'm going to throw it across the room because it's such a piece of shit." Something. So anyway, that's just
what
some. The drink spotter's getting some hate by a couple douchebags on Instagram and YouTube.
Well,
so I just wanted to call them out and tell them how much they suck.
They hate us because they ain't us.
There you go.
It's not new for either weak-bodied or weak-minded people to be that way on Instagram. Like, it says more about them than it says about the drink spotter or Gluck or Massonomics. Like, and they're almost always locked accounts, right? Yeah. Or they're always fitness coaches that have somehow don't post physiques. Like, it's just, we get it, dude. Like, we get it. Okay, now go away. Like, you peacocked through the comment section, made everybody look at your dumb comment. Maybe some people took your bait, but ultimately, like, take your tiny penis and go home.
Mm-hmm.
I brought it up first today.
I was just gonna say that. So let's see. We can touch on this quickly. It literally just came out today. You guys, I'm sure you didn't watch it yet, but Tanner did another collab video with that. Was it Jake the Fit Friend? I think it is. This was a barbell basics. They just kind of talked about the difference between a powerlifting bar, an Olympic weightlifting bar, a deadlift bar, and a squat bar. It was actually, it was pretty entertaining. I did learn one little thing that I've always considered my Texas squat bar 32 millimeters, because that's what I've just always called it. And, Tanner actually corrected everyone and said it's 31.75. And I didn't believe him. So I went and looked at the damn website, and sure enough, it's 31.75. So, call me corrected. So, but that was a pretty cool video. So go support Tanner and support that Jake the Fit Friend.
Forgive me there. Just had to mute for a second.
You're good. So Big Eddie, what do you want to take a crack at guessing on any of these never seen before Massonomics merch they've been hinting at? I don't know. You've been so busy at work. I don't know if you saw, one of the hosts did hint at, I want to say it was 5 different items, maybe 7 different items that have never been released, plus some paraphernalia that we'll get a buy to.
Well, I think there's going to be some sort of a drinkware.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first guess. And man, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have a new shirt. I kind of feel like they are going to have another shirt besides the meat shirt. But the rest, I don't know. Do we think that the slides might actually make an appearance?
I don't know. I think there's literally 2 pairs of slides, and they were like samples, and they didn't turn out great. Yeah. And they just dropped them, and he just has kept them in the background for the last 6 months to cock tease.
I don't think he would do that though if they weren't going to move forward on it.
True.
So that's kind of my thought. I think the slides are going to be the big drop there.
I'd be worried. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm trying to.
The thing with slides, it's like the thing with footwear is, I mean, even though they're slides, you still got to have like what are they? Maybe you'll have one that's like an 8 and a 10, and 11 and 12, but like you still have to carry at least 4 or 5 sizes. You can't just have like
XL,
one
large, medium, small. Yeah,
still that right.
Yeah,
3 sizes minimum.
Medium, extra medium.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get the fanny pack, and I hope
really.
I hope when this comes out next week.
Yeah.
There's 3 things. 1 has been confirmed. 2 have been hinted. The strength co-collars, Those have been
Yeah, I don't know if
confirmed.
I'd call that a Massonomics drop, though. That's a strength code drop.
That's fair. Tanner did hint about fanny packs,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been looking to replace my Justin Bieber one, so I wouldn't mind getting a Massonomics one. But I'd also think that we're getting a barefoot collaboration.
Oh yeah,
They
we
definitely talked about
we
that.
are getting that. We are getting that. This is coming out after the meet, so we could say that because he told us he was like, he said something on the Discord about if you've been looking at getting another pair, maybe wait till the meet or
I'm
something
so
like
mad
that.
about that. I just bought the salmon ones because
Yeah.
I was like, they're so pretty.
Well, yeah, I don't blame you for that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a limited edition in and of itself.
Yeah. And then they're not even here yet because Chicago's on fire apparently, so nothing's moving through Ohio. So they're not here yet. But the silly pint I think we're getting as well.
No, didn't we? Yep. Is that just the silicone cup, or is that something? Is that like the more the metal tumbler? I guess I'm confused.
No,
because he definitely showed. They've already showed pictures of the next boob cup, like the little rubber cup thing.
Yeah,
that's
so already been. Silly means silicone.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, there's a boob cup because they know that's just a running gag.
And then they call it pint.
Stupid.
They call it silly pint because it's a silicone cup that holds 1 pint.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, yeah, that's all that you were saying it like you weren't sure, but I swear it's been on. I'm pretty sure it's been in their stories at least twice in the last couple of days. So, but I know you're busy and you probably haven't seen too much of their stories.
No, I saw one of the stories.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember what the logo on it was. It's just Live Hard, Live Easy Classic, or was it something else?
Yeah, it's the classic. Classic logo.
So you think there'll be another one on top of that, or just that?
No, I think it's just gonna be the Live Hard, Live Easy Classic.
We will see in a couple of days.
I don't know if they'll do banners or not. I don't know. We'll find out. I'm pretty curious as well. I'm curious to see if there's something we're totally not expecting, but I don't know. Regardless, people's wallets will be lighter than when they entered.
I'm almost worried about buying too much shit and then having to be like, this is all got to fit back with me, or it can just be like, Tanner, here's $30. Can you mail this to me in a couple days?
Can you fulfill,
I'm gonna
$5
$5 shipping.
Well, yeah, but if I buy more, and also he's going to be so overwhelmed that it's the stuff that you have to buy exclusively there that might sell out, and then he'll be like, hey, can you throw this in the back of your truck and send it to Honeycutt? He'll either
just go find Jack.
Jack will send my shit to
you. When you go to check in, you can always have on multiple shirts on. There's tricks to that. You can wear your lifting belt around your waist as you go through security and get it checked and put it back on. And, there's ways to get around that. And that carry-on bag isn't weighed. Unless you're doing Spirit or something, they don't check the weight on your carry-on. I mean, I've had 70-pound carry-on bags before just because that's the way it felt. It worked out.
My carry-on coming back from Home Gym Con was ridiculous because we won the Irwin Fitness Roller J-Cups. And they're 12 pounds a piece or something. So I had to add a solid, almost 30 pounds to my carry-on. That was very unpleasant when I went to go throw it up in the air.
Yeah.
So how's your meet prep going, Eddie? You are competing, correct? You're not just going for the party. I know last time I talked to you, I thought you were having some knee issues. Has any of that kind of worked its way out?
Yeah. Some of it has, some of it hasn't. I'm definitely there to have fun, and I will pull what I pull, and I will have fun with what I do. Some ways my shoulder is feeling better than it has in the last year and a half, but I've definitely still lost strength. My knee has been bugging me a lot. Got some fluid drain, got x-rays, got an MRI, and then all the doctor had to say was get a steroid shot, which it might numb the pain, but it doesn't solve anything. So I actually went to a chiropractor here in Ann Arbor, and he did everything. He checked everything, and my knee is feeling way better.
Mm-hmm.
So he adjusted my shoulder as well. That one's feeling better too. They're still not 100%, but I am much more confident about that. If at least I can now do full range of motion with my knee, and which means between wraps and warm-ups, I don't think I'll have any problems doing my squats, and the knee wasn't bugging me on deadlifts either. So It's just pretty good. It definitely got in the way of my training and kind of killed any sort of a peak, but that's okay. Because, I'm there to have fun, and, my numbers aren't anything to to really stress about anyway. So yeah, it's been great.
It sounds like you might not have caught Tanner's video last week, where the whole premise was, don't compare yourself to other people. Just kind of it's you against yourself. Just have fun, etc. So
yeah,
I
haven't watched it yet, but yeah, I mean, I do the same thing with Highland games. I don't go to Highland games to beat other people. Once I became an A-class competitor, that went out the door. I go to have fun. I go to entertain the crowd, and if I can beat some of my numbers, then I'm even happier.
Yeah, you've done you've done so many Highland games. They don't let you compete in amateur no more. So you've got to go against the big boys and toss all I'm assuming like the implements are all bigger and heavier, and you got to go longer distances and all that jazz. So
yep.
So I'm sure we'll talk to our guest more about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, we had maybe one last thread if Joey wanted to pull on. If not, we can go on to the sponsor read.
Nah. Like I mentioned last week, we didn't even talk about the launch of Threads, but then they covered it on our sister podcast. Yeah. And like I've been on Threads. I've been on Twitter for something like 11 years, and all of the people that said, I'm not learning that, I don't know how to use it, it sucks, are now joining Threads, and they suck at it. So it's not going to replace Twitter, because all those people that don't know what they're doing and admitted they never want to learn are now trying. So until that content creation gets a little better, Threads isn't going anywhere. I can tell you that. Like Meta's, like Tommy said, Meta knows what they're doing. But I don't think it's going to replace Twitter anytime soon.
Yeah, I downloaded it, made an account. I hated that it wanted to put a number in your profile, so I immediately deleted that number. And then I think I actually deleted Threads off my phone the other day. I did get a new phone, so I went through it and purged any app I wasn't in love with, just to kind of clean house. I might re-download the app, but just have an active account. So, but yeah, I'm not overly motivated to have a fourth social media platform that I have to post gym shit and personal shit to.
Yeah, all I can say right now is, if you're on the fence, you don't need Threads. That's my expert opinion right now. Now, I missed it there. Let's jump into a sponsor read before we get our guest on the horn. Now, were we going to have Eddie do the sponsor read today?
He was going to take the brains at it.
All
right. Well, welcome everyone. And today's podcast, The Underpaid and Underrated, is brought to you by the one and only Massonomics. It's science. So if you ever wanted to learn how to get big, how to use your strength, and man, I'm really butchering this. This is great. If you everyone want to learn how to get strong, how to stay strong, and how to use your strength, you just turn into the Massonomics podcast, where we don't talk about reps and sets. They don't talk about training programs or anything like that, but they talk about everything else involved with lifting that has nothing to do with lifting. So it's a great place to check out. It's a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you out on the Massonomics to listen to it, join the community, join in on the jokes, have some fun, and check it out.
All right. Brought to you by Massonomics. Good. I was really hoping you were going to go, this is Massonomics. And the country music would start in the background.
I had a few thoughts, but it's been a long day. I forgot them.
Well, we appreciate you taking care of that. So
how did they get Sam Elliott? All right. Should we get our guest on the horn?
Yep. Yeah. Let's see if old Cornfed's ready to join us on this podcast interview.
All right, let's kick all these other chumps out, and we'll bring in Big Eddie. Is that you?
Oh yeah, brother. Big Eddie's in the house.
Oh yeah. Welcome. You are live on Unpaid and Underrated. No warm up. We're just gonna jump right in.
All right, let's do this.
Okay. First thing, we started this last week, and I think I'd like to keep doing it. So we know you're Cornfed Highlander.
Yep.
Is that who you are on the Discord and Instagram? Let's make sure people know to find you, and so that they know who we're talking to.
Yeah, it should be the same on both of them. I think my official Discord name is like Fat Man Down, and then the nickname for the Massonomic stuff and everything else is like Cornfed Highlander, and that's what I am on Instagram as well, Cornfed Highlander.
All right, that's the spirit. We found you. We found you. Now, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you and I came in about the same time to Massonomics. I think.
Probably.
So
I
what? So
think
tell
when
us
I
how you
yeah, I would
tell
say
us how
so.
you found us. Tell us how you found Massonomics, and then why it appealed to you, and then
I
suddenly
remember
you're the mole.
so I remember seeing the Great Gym Tour stuff by what's that guy? It's like Keith's favorite YouTube guy. I can't remember his name now. But
Is his name Hooper
he was
Mitchell?
yeah,
Hoop,
that's it. Yeah. So he
good
was
old
doing
Hoop.
that tour and he visited Massonomics and I don't remember what I was watching of his that went on to that. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool, Mike. That's really funny. These guys have some funny stuff. And then I just kind of left it be. I think I like went on the website, looked at it, and then sometime later I started seeing the first Jefferson deadlift contest videos, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then for some reason, I thought it was going to be like an annual thing. So I actually planned out what I was going to do the following year. Um, and I'm like, I think I'll do this. Maybe I'll win a t-shirt next year, blah, blah, blah. So then I started following a little bit more and I was like, you know what? I'm going to the Arnold in 2020. I'll have to stop by and meet these guys. And then, of course, that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought one of their shirts online because they did a sale. And then I really started following them more. And then I finally started listening to some podcasts and listened to, some of my favorite athletes. And I thought, well, I'll listen to their episodes first and see what they have to say. And then before I knew it, I was starting at the front, episode 1, and working my way through.
Nice. So you have done the entire backlog, do you think? Or most?
There's been a couple that I'm like, I'm done with this. But usually those involve CrossFit.
Yeah. Tyler had a bunch of
some
those
of them,
that were.
some
Tyler's
of them were a little
interviews were
much
pretty
for me.
boring.
Hey,
Some
come
of them
on,
were a little much for
he
me.
listens. He listens.
Yeah.
He did a great job. It just wasn't for me.
The interviews that he did of people that I had no interest in, I guess. Let me put it like that. I like the girls that we are the future of powerlifting or whatever the female powerlifting one that I don't think they even exist anymore. Like that, their page doesn't exist. But he did good interviews. He picked a lot of people I didn't enjoy.
You could say that some of those interviews were all like just the same. Like there was nothing different about them.
They all sounded the same, huh?
They all sound the same.
See what you did there.
Yep, all sound the same.
Badoosh.
All right, so I always figured you and I were, because I jumped in around Jen Thompson, which I think was 247 or 250.
That was about when I was getting involved. Yep.
Yeah, which kind of leads me into the next point. I think you and I talked about this at the Arnold, because we hung out at the Arnold. That's why I kind of assumed we came about the same time. And I've got a whole list of how many people has Eddie met, how many famous people has Eddie met. Tell us about the lift banner. Like everybody wants to hear about how our flitter ditter went and met everybody in Massonomics.
Very nice. Very nice.
So I will say we met at the Arnold. We spent most of, I want to say, Saturday together, right? Like I was hopping in and out of the booth. You spend a lot of the time at the booth.
Same here. Yep.
But so like, tell me, like, forget naming everybody you've ever met, because that's just ridiculous.
I don't know if I'll be able to pull that off.
Yeah, if everybody's that interested, maybe we can get Eddie to post a picture of his flag. There's flag, sorry.
My banner,
yeah, the banner that has all the signatures. So I want to know, Eddie, to wrap up my rambling, why have you made it your mission to just meet as many of us as possible, and why is it so cool?
I think, I don't know. I don't remember how much of this I was doing before the Massonomics thing, but I just, through Highland Games, you learn that you can just walk up and talk to the pros, and with a few exceptions, they will talk to you, and they'll be really cool with you, and they don't mind and that kind of stuff, and like I remember being at Pleasanton back in 2015 and hanging out with Halthor. I mean, he didn't say much, but he was just, there with us the whole time and got like my photo with him and stuff. And it's just like totally cool. And it kind of made me realize that like to just people, right? So, as I've, gone through this stuff, I travel for work, and then even when I'm on like vacation, it's like, well, what's fun? Well, to me, meeting people's fun. I'm very social, so I enjoy, looking people up. But I think the really tipping point on the Mastonomics side was when we were all still on Instagram, making friends and chatting on everyone's posts. And I saw that Big Lou went out to Big Jen's meet, and I saw that they met up in real life. And like, I was like, oh, sweet. Like, these people don't just do this whole podcast thing and the strength thing. They're actually like, they're open to meeting up with people in real life. Because for me, like, I've done that before in the strength community. When I first got into powerlifting, the guy that I lifted with, he got me onto Dave Draper's website, Iron Online Forum, and they hosted a bash. My training partner hosted a bash at his house at Fort Leavenworth, and like, I don't know, 60 people came, and all these people I've met online and interacted with, and I got to meet them in person, and it was a blast. And so to me, it's like, the way we are online, the way we interact, really is a reflection of who we are. And so if someone's cool to chat with online, they're more than likely they're pretty cool to chat with in person. If they're creepy online, they're going to be creepy in person. If they're funny online, they're probably going to be funny in person. They might be a little bit more shy, they might be a little bit more outgoing, but so as I travel and do this kind of stuff, to me, it brings more excitement and enjoyment to my journeys on the road.
It's incredible, and you are leading the way in it. Like, it's. I've got my little flag that has a couple names on it. I think I have Shane Hunt, which I think, I don't know if you grabbed him while we were there.
No one should be sleeping on Shane. He's a great guy. Don't sleep on him.
He is actually really fun.
He convinced me.
Yeah, no, he is really fun. So everybody has it. All of the people that wanted to say, how many have you met? Name everybody you've met. I don't.
Oh, dude.
Like, that's weird. That's a weird, like, remember everybody thing.
No, even if I was looking at the list banner, there's some signatures that I can't read. And I do feel kind of bad about that, because I was like, I don't know who that is. Like, I'm not for sure if I could correctly identify it. But for the rest of it, it's just been a lot of fun. And I'm like, I thought, hey, maybe I should have something for people to sign and to get, as I meet people. And like, shoot, let's just do the lift banner. It's white, easy to write on.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it makes a nice piece for the gym. There's the joke. There's this other podcast that talks about how the Mastonomics followers are like the third strongest lifters in their home gym. Well, I mean, you look at my lift banner, I'm not even close to the third strongest, in my home gym. And I'm fine with that. To me, that's the way it should be.
No, that's fantastic.
I can relate to that sentiment as far as having a banner with signatures in your gym that you're not in the top level of lifters. Basically, I have people sign a banner in my gym that have just lifted here. Basically, the rule is if you've lifted here at least twice, or you traveled more than an hour, you get to sign the banner. I've got like 20 some signatures on it, and my goal is just keep getting it signed for the rest of my life. But yeah, Big Eddie is on there, and I make a point to tell him, like, please write your name legible, especially now after hearing the story that you can't read someone's name. That even makes me more emphasize when someone's here. So I always have them sign first and last name and date it, and just make it as just basic as possible.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. I like the Arnold was top tier fun, like the most fun I've ever had, and I think we're going to recreate or enhance what that was coming this weekend. I think there's going to be a lot of just utter silliness, utter stupidity. If anybody even gets a little serious, they're just going to be gently removed, right? Like, it's just going to be. I think there's some people that don't know what they're getting into. I think that, like, there are some people who signed up for this meet who maybe don't know the Discord, and they're going to go in there thinking this is my chance. I'm going to power live, and we're all going to just be dummies. And
if they are, then they're locals.
Yeah, or even like I'm not even positive Lindsay Gray is. Maybe she is, right? She doesn't really post silly stuff herself, so. But
I think she knows enough.
I think she's hip. She's hip to us.
Yeah, she did a good job on the interview.
Now I called you Flitter Ditter, and you gave me a bit of a smile.
I caught that. Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie, for all your good feedback on Big Eddie.
Yeah, we have lots of nicknames in my house, and I think that's one that Steph came up with. and we've run with it. And we just like nicknames. We have our son, he's 5 years old, and I heard somewhere once that like nicknames are a form of like manipulation or like grooming or things like that, or like you change someone's name, you don't call them by their name, and it's a way of subjecting them. And so I've made it a point then that when we have these silly names, that no one in my house is alone in that silliness. Like if I call my son a flitterditter and he says he's not, then I like make it a point to say that I'm a flitterditter and that mom's a flitterditter and like all that kind of stuff. Like I turn it into something like we own it. Like
Yeah.
it's just something silly and it's only meant to be silly. And
Yeah.
So I like doing that kind of stuff. We kind of run with it. And I grew up with bad nicknames and good nicknames, and I like good ones, and I think they can be a lot of fun. So we try to do that.
Yeah, I call my little girl. I used to sing "Little Girl," and I just thought, like, fuck, that sounds weird. It was giving me bad vibes, so I changed it to Squirrel. So now we just call her Squirrel. Like whenever you're referring to her, like, where's the squirrel? Yeah. So there's positive little names, and then she just started climbing everything. So no, I hear you on that one. Good call.
Yeah.
So did any of that play? We heard that up until I think you were about 16 or so, your family called you Ed, and then you kind of took it upon yourself to be like lay down the law of I am now Eddie. And now I hear you. There's apparently a thing that you do. You go around the house multiple times a day and say, "I'm an Eddie. I'm an Eddie. I'm an Eddie."
I believe he sings it. I'm an Eddie.
Yeah. Is there a story with the I'm an Eddie?
No.
And or picking the name Eddie as a adolescent.
Yeah, there is a name for picking Eddie as my new name. I always went by Ed. I never liked any other version of Ed. Like if you called me Eduardo, I would not know that you were talking to me. If you called me, Edward or anything else or Eddie, I didn't care for it. And then when I was 16, I decided, you know what, I'm having a birthday party. We didn't really have very many of those, especially like invite friends over kind of thing. And I'm like, you know what, I'm doing one, and I'm going to do like a luau type. And I thought that Ed's luau just didn't sound that good. So I made it Eddie's luau, and then I just ran with it. And it just stuck, and now that's what I do. So I've got some friends that knew me from before that, and they still call me Ed, and I don't care. And some of my family still call me Ed, and I don't care. It doesn't bother me anymore. Now I'm much more open to whatever they call. And yeah, and then the other thing, I don't know. It's just a thing that I do at the house with my family. I remember when I was taking, I want to say psychology class, or maybe psychology. There's something about the 3 different types of people within us, like the little professor, and I don't remember the other 2, but one of them is about like you just have fun, like you act like your kids and you have fun, and like so when I'm with my family, I try to have fun and I try to relax, and that helps me unwind and not take things too seriously, and so it's not uncommon in my house to hear me say that I am an Eddie.
Makes sense as far as living your life to your fullest and enjoying it the most when you are with your family. Because I know you personally, and I know you travel up to 25 to 50% of your weeks and at a time. So that makes it extra valuable to really enjoy the home life and to be present with your family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And let's see. So speaking of, no, you're good. But pulling on the family thread, Stephanie, you had mentioned that you have a lot of family members that are kind of concerned about your lifting. And like we'll periodically want to have conversations with you and talk you out of powerlifting and Highland games because you're going to hurt yourself, etc. Is there something good there?
Is there anyone among us though, Eddie, that like whose mom hasn't texted you and been like, oh, I saw that post, like you got to be careful, you're gonna hurt yourself? And it's like,
oh my god,
no, I'm not weak. Like you're gonna run into problem, mom. Just I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and for my mom, I totally expect that because my mom worries about everything, and she loves me, and she's super overprotective and all that kind of stuff. And like I remember, so when I first started powerlifting, I used to drink a lot of soda, like a couple 2 liters a day was not uncommon. And I drink a lot of soda and stuff and like that. And after a couple months of lifting, I was gaining more weight because I was eating more and I was lifting. So I was, I'm sure I put on some muscle, but I decided to kind of get after it. So I did kind of a little bit more of an extreme diet. It was just like protein shakes all day, all week for 28 days. And I lost like 35 pounds. And you look at the photos of me and I look like amazing and all this stuff. And it was funny because while I'm doing this, I craved healthy food only. And so when I got off it, like I only ate healthy food for like 6-7 months. And it just blew my mind that my mom, who like hounded me for years about my soda consumption, is now upset with me because I'm lifting weights. I'm going to hurt my back and I'm going to be like, break my back. And I'm just like, well, hold on a second. Like, I'm doing something good for my body and now you're upset. Like, you've been bugging me about taking care of myself for years and now I'm doing it. You're upset. And, but like Joey said, it's my mom.
Yeah.
If she wasn't concerned, then that would be a bigger problem. But yeah, I've had other siblings that don't have any interaction in my life at all, but then they will like call me up after a competition. It happened a few years back and he's like, I don't know, man, like I just don't want you to become disabled and not be able to take care of your family. And I'm just like,
from lifting,
what are you talking about? Like, I post a video of me throwing a sheaf event in Highland Games and you think I'm gonna like destroy myself, and it's just funny to see that kind of stuff. And and people who don't understand what's going on will always have that kind of stuff. But I'm also the youngest in my family. I'm the youngest of 5 kids.
The baby
and so
Eddie.
Yeah, and that's all they ever see me as. They see me as baby Eddie. They call me the golden child because I watched all the stupid mistakes they did and I didn't repeat them, and like things like that. And, so yeah, but it's always funny that people will worry. And, my wife's no stranger to that. When she was in her early 20s, she started running and her mom just gave her all this grief about how bad it is for her and all this kind of stuff. And all of her health metrics went way up. She was doing really good, taking good care of herself. And she started lifting. And once again, her mom started going in about how it's not good for you, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure that's something that you guys have never heard, from someone that these extreme sports are going to destroy you, like I'm getting into running as well. Like I've been off and on with running. I've got some 5Ks this year. And like, I just know people are going to tell me about how running's bad for my knees. And it's like, well,
yeah,
it can be, but if you do a little bit of research, you can find out that there's ways to run that are not bad for your knees, just kind of like squatting. Everyone knows squatting's bad for your knees, so yeah, but it's just part of life and you roll with the punches.
If I had $1 for every old person, specifically older men who would see my deadlift and go, you better watch your form. And it's just like, buddy, I just deadlifted your total. Like, don't tell me. Yeah. I always like to tell the story of, so we live with my dad. Mm-hmm. And back when I was still going to the gym, he would make fun of me a little because the gym you're just going there to socialize. You're not really doing anything. And I just like, dude, like, you don't even know. I go to the gym. I don't talk to a single person. They're lucky to get a head nod out of me. And then one day we were in the backyard, we were taking down some trees. And the way that it had worked is one of the trees landed on top of the other, but we needed to move both of them. And I'm talking full-size trees. And he was like, okay, I'm going to go get that rope and we'll go get that. And I was just like, just move. And I picked up one tree and used it to move the other tree. And he never once made fun of the gym again.
I have some stories like that too. And I always love that. Like at my work, they really didn't know what to make of me when I got hired into this position. Because some of these guys have been working together a really long time. And they now like get it, like one of the guys he loves to introduce me is the guy that picks things up and puts things down.
Yeah.
And but it's true. Like I do this demo equipment and I go and I load and unload equipment out of my truck bed by myself that has like handles for 2 people to lift. And I'm just like, I don't have time for this. Let's go. Let's get it done.
Not waiting around.
I was
Did
like, I don't need a forklift for this. Let's just pick it up and go.
did I tell you that story last week, Keith?
The forklift story. I don't
No,
think.
when we were moving my mom.
Uh,
I was kind of annoyed. I was kind of annoyed at how slow it was going, to be honest with you. And we had the elevator, and the truck was outside the elevator. You'd load it to the elevator, take it up, and then take it down the hallway. I didn't tell you this?
no, I got a freaking hamstring cramp at the moment, so that was my facial expression.
I
Charlie
go back.
horse.
So I'm in the elevator now because I'm just moving stuff, and then I go back down, and the guy that was there loading the truck, he was supposed to have help, but they left. And he's like, oh, well, I think everything on there is a 2-person job. And I looked and I was like, yeah, you're right. Why don't you take a break? Can you grab me a water? And I sent him upstairs. And as he was gone, I picked it all up and moved it myself to the end of the thing.
Yeah, buddy.
There was only one I couldn't get because it was a couch. And like, it was just awkward. But it was so funny. He came downstairs. I was like, just help me get in the elevator. It's not about him, right? I'm not mocking him. It was just, it's about like, no, come on. This
places to be, man.
This is what I got
stuff to do.
Yeah.
Be careful, my mom says. No, you be careful, lady. Like you're.
Yep.
And I can attest to Eddie's pickup truck loading and unloading ability. He did it in my driveway. So I'll make a little origin story of how Big Keith and Big Eddie met a couple years ago. Back in the pre-Discord days when all you did was just follow random people that got reshared on, Massonomic's main story. And that's how you grew your little crew. This was like before crew existed. So you were just your Massonomic circle. You all had like the same 10 mutual friends. So Eddie saw that I was looking for a certain style of stall mat because I'm very OCD and I want everything to match in my gym. And I couldn't locally source the same style stall mat up here. And Big Eddie was out, on a road trip at work and was buying some gym equipment. And he's like, hey, he DM'd me. We'd only had a minimal interaction dialogue back and forth. He's like, hey, Big Keith, there's this lady selling some of these stall mats that are exact ones you're looking at. I'm going to be up in your neck of the woods in a few months. I can just buy them for you and just hold on to them for a little while. And I was like, well, you really don't have to do that. I feel horrible and inconveniencing you. And you're like, not inconvenience at all. And, took it upon himself to buy me, I think 2 or 3 stall, maybe even 4. So it might have been 4. It was multiple stall mats, full 4x6, 100, full 4 foot by 6 foot, 100-pound stall mats that we all have in our gyms. And he held on to them for a few months. Yep. Then with the diamond pattern. And then on a road trip up on a work trip, when he still had this territory, he dropped them off and grabbed a workout with us, took me and my wife out to dinner, had a great, Massonomics, friendship bloomed from there. And that was, and now you've got I think since then, basically, one of the hosts must have saw that story and knew about it. And now you're muling out 3,000 pounds of York dumbbells out to, out to Aberdeen. I really hope he pays for your double gas mileage because I'm sure your truck is not loving all that extra weight.
It's not too bad. No, it's I've also done stuff for Big Daniel. I was raised in a church community that you help people move. You move people and you move people out. And like when I was a teenager, like my young men's leaders would just like call me up and be like, hey, we got to move. Be outside of your house in 15 minutes. We're picking you up, and we just go move people. And like I had a job for UPS once. And for my qualifications, I was like, well, I've moved 5 people in the last 3 months. Like I can pick things up, And they're like, all right, sure, But so to me, it's like, I don't have a problem with it. And one time my wife was giving me a hard time. I was picking some up for someone and helping them move some gym equipment. And she was like, why are you doing this? Why are you don't know him? And I was like, well, I've met him. And she's like, you don't know him. I'm like, look, I said, honey, I've given my entire Saturday to people at church that I've never met before. I can give my entire Saturday to someone I have met who doesn't go to my church. Like, if I want to do this, I'm going to do it and I enjoy it. So to me, it's fun because I like meeting people, hanging out with people and helping them. So yeah, no, that was a fun opportunity. And that lady we bought the stuff from, she was kind of weird, but she was into fitness industry to make money and not about having a good time. And, we got those stall mats to you, didn't we?
Yeah, man, I really appreciate that. And this fitness, buying fitness equipment, you're going to meet some weird people, that's for sure. But with that, you probably have a little bit of a safer edge than some other, guys out there with a little bit of your background. So if I recall, you are a former self-defense instructor, or you have some history in self-defense, if I believe.
Yep. Yep. So I used to work for the Army back in 2008 when we entered a recession. A third of the company I was working for got laid off, and me and some of the other people, we were looking for work, and everyone was looking for work, and I heard about an opportunity to work for the Army as a student hire. So that got me back into college. That was the first time I went back to community college at home, and part-time there and full-time work. And I worked for the Army, and I was doing pretty basic office stuff, nothing super exciting. And this one guy would come in, he'd visit our office every now and then and just kind of like talk about stuff. And the other guys who worked there knew him better, so they would talk about martial art type things. And so one day I asked him, I was like, hey, is there any of that kind of stuff on post? Like, is there any of these opportunities to like learn more about it? He's like, oh yeah, we train every morning. He's like, you should just come join us, And so I found out about what was going on, and there was no like official courses on post, but there was some folks that were certified to teach. Basically, they'd completed the instructor certification, so then they were then taking it and teaching just anyone that wants to learn, whether they were officers or enlisted or civilians. And so I started going. I learned 2 different systems. The first one's called Lines Combative, and it was developed back in the 80s. And it's all about repetitive motion, that you learn the same movements over and over again so that they are muscle memory, so that like if someone tries to do whatever, you just immediately react. That one was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. You learn little things like it takes 15 pounds of pressure to break the average wrist, little stuff like that. Just some other types of things like, how to move people around, and how to defend yourself, or how to easily break bones or dislocate shoulders and stuff. And then they did the Army Combatives program at the time. I got to do the level 1 instructor course for that, and that was a lot of fun. That one got a little bit more into jujitsu and some grappling. And then like as you advance on, they do more like takedowns and things like that, more advanced standing up combats. And so I really had a lot of fun with it. It really definitely boosted my self-confidence when it came to interactions. Like I reinforced that I never ever would want to get in a fight with somebody, because you never know someone's background. Like you cannot look at someone and know what kind of skills they have. Mm-hmm. It reinforced that I do not like getting hit in the face at all when we would do like the boxing sparring stuff, like, and I'd get bopped in the nose. Like, I don't know if it was like an emotional trauma thing from my childhood, but like, I did not like it at all. So like, I'm the type of guy that if I get in a fight, I'm not going to swap blows with you. I'm going to like pick up a chair and throw it at you, or like, I'm going to like tackle you and then like sit on your chest so you can't breathe kind of thing. Like, there are so many other ways that I'm not going to be swapping punches, throwing hands. And then I did get a chance to help train the 705th MP Battalion. They were getting ready to go downrange, or in other words, go to the Middle East. And they had reached out asking for some more training. And so, the guy who's doing the class said, hey, who all can come help out? And so I went and gave a day of my time and got to teach them and kind of go through the basics and do some mock knife stuff. So like if a prisoner has like a prison shank or something, and that was a lot of fun. That was pretty cool. And I'd say the last thing about it that I like to always kind of share is when we did our certification test, I feel really bad for the guys on my team, because we would go through certain drills and they would have to go run around the baseball field. Well, I'm not very fast. And I was also like the heaviest guy because I didn't have to follow PT regulations. And so I was always last. And when you're last, it means you get the least amount of rest. So then we would have to go first immediately. And so the rest of my team is really getting their butt kicked. And we get done with it. We get done with these like 4 or 5 drill things. And then we have to do what we call a swarm drill, which is where you have to do 16 consecutive attacks where it's like it's all in order, but you have to do 60 consecutive attacks while you're exhausted to kind of prove that you have that muscle memory. And that was very difficult, but a lot of fun. And one thing it taught me was that a good team is made up of different people. So if there's ever like a zombie apocalypse, I am not the running messages. I'm not going to be the sprinter scouting. I'm going to be the one who blocks the doorway and holds the bottleneck so that people can get away. I can do that.
Hold the door.
I will be good at that. And if that's what it takes, I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. People already don't mess with me because of my size. It's an interesting tidbit about the whole bar and after 8 p.m., but I don't expect anyone will ever say that to me anyway. And,
yeah, you're a bit bigger.
A lot of times.
Do you think that's why Hathor didn't talk to you very much? He was intimidated.
No, because I wasn't the biggest guy there.
No, I know you are.
He
was. That's what the instinct. Anybody that hasn't met Eddie, you're what, about 6 foot or so?
Yeah, 6'1", something like that. Okay. What shoes I'm wearing.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, we got a few more questions we could get into. If Joey wanted to, if anything in there jumps out at you, if not, I got one I wanted to.
Now you go ahead, because I think we can move on to the silly question after.
Okay. I'll just wrap. This is my last. Before we move on to the silly question, you and I had talked about books a fair amount, and some of our authors and genres we had enjoyed. If you were to be, I know we're not supposed to, make anyone pick their favorite, but on this one, since it's not fitness related and you haven't met them, just favorite author or favorite book, whichever. In my opinion, I would prefer to be more fictional, because I'm trying to get something more of a book recommendation. I don't really do the self-help stuff. That's not really my genre. So in a fictional world, what would you consider your
dead or alive?
Books? It doesn't
narrow it down.
Yeah.
So I'm terrible at this kind of stuff. You ask me my favorite movie, you got to give me a genre.
Yeah, just it's not that big of a deal. I know you like Brandon Sanderson, so we'll just leave it at that. So
I am a big Brandon Sanderson fan.
Yeah.
I would say that if there was an author that I would like to meet, even then, there's 2 names that come to mind.
That's fine. We don't. That doesn't have to be a big segment. It was just more curious. I'm always looking for more. I'm always looking for different books to read.
I'm a big Ayn Rand fan. So I listen to Atlas Shrugged annually. And that's one of those books that's pretty polarizing. People either love it or they hate it. So I'm always wanting to talk to people about that book who've read it, and just to compare opinions. Especially as I've heard religious people say that she's anti-religion, and I'm I guess it depends on how you read it. So that's one person that I would really love to meet and have a conversation with. At the same time, I would also really like to meet C.S. Lewis. I enjoy the Chronicles of Narnia, and it's just a really good series, and there's a lot of really good morals and values in there. Even if you don't want to take it to, the religious connections that a lot of people associate, there's still just really good values. I don't remember the book, but there's the horse that's afraid that he's not going to get along with the other horses, and the other horse is dude, just be a horse and have fun. Don't worry about it. There's just so much good stuff. And then I've got other books that I really love, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings books. You can't go wrong with that. I was a big Redwall fan growing up, and all those books with the animals fighting, and so I tend to gravitate towards that stuff. And now I listen to a lot of Brandon Sanderson, and Wheel of Time series is another favorite. And right now, lately I've been listening to the Inheritance series again, the whole Aragon books, because apparently he's coming out with another one this fall.
Yeah, I think the 4th.
I thought I'd catch up on that. Yeah.
I think there was a tweener book that wasn't a real full novel that came out a year or 2 ago. I never caught that one, but I probably should do a full reread of the first, the main 3 before, because it's such a vast world to just I don't want to waste the time reading a 4th book if I can't remember. It's been 10 years since I read the other ones, so. But we'll close on that, and we can dive in on my co-host Joey's silly question of the week.
I want to premise this. You guys have probably watched me just absolutely clawing at my eyeball. I got something in my eye. So this eye is swelling up,
apart.
And it's just
that's terrible.
It happens. But if you're wondering just why you're watching my video and I'm going on mute and clawing at it, that's why there's something in there, and it's just watering. And I'm trying to talk to you guys.
You got any eye drops you can go put in?
I'm good for now. We'll figure it out.
All right, man.
I got ice in the cooler here, so I've just been putting the cooler on it. So I don't know if you're familiar with the silly question of the week. I might have bitten off more than I can chew, having to come up with these every week. So that's been an interesting piece of homework for me.
You gotta start a spreadsheet or a separate doc, and just anytime you even think of one that kind of would work, just write it down, and then you basically use like 10 ready to go at any given time.
Yeah, and,
so what you got?
This one, let's see where this goes. I don't think we're gonna all have the time to answer this one. So I'm going to actually focus this on our guest, Big Eddie. And if he wants to tag one of us in, that would work. Okay. So you are in charge of putting together a Spice Girls group. I want to give you 5 members of the crew, and you're going to give them a spice name. It can be an existing spice name, or it can be just something you know about them that would go really, really well, but they're not going to be just random. These are kind of the bigger names of the crew. Okay. Do you want them all, or do you want me to give them one by one?
Let's do one at a time.
Okay. What spice is Tanner?
Ooh, I wasn't expecting Tanner. I would say Tanner is. I would say black pepper.
Oh, okay. So maybe we're missing. So like the Spice Girls, like there was Scary Spice, Baby Spice.
Oh,
it was like it was reflections of their personality.
I thought they were called like ginger and pepper and sugar.
Oh, this is gonna make such a good meme. There's Sporty Spice, there's Baby Spice, there's Scary Spice.
Ginger,
ginger,
posh,
ginger. Yeah. There was ginger.
That's because she had red hair.
Okay,
you could almost just make it like the 7 Boy.
I don't know. See, I don't know if you guys know, but I almost went to culinary school, and I've worked in multiple restaurants.
Yeah,
and so I was like, "Oh, cool! I can pair spice with people. Like I can do that." And I'm like, then I'm lost. I don't know how to answer this then.
Keith, give us Tanner. Give us what you think Tanner Spice would be. Like
my impulses recently would be Sister Spice, but I don't know. Boss Spice, Tanner.
Yeah.
Did nothing come to you, Eddie? It threw me off because
I don't know the Spice Girls enough to even know how to answer the question. Like I can tell you why I picked black pepper.
Yeah, do that.
Okay, I picked black pepper because black pepper is one of those seasonings that like everyone likes. It's like some people call it the king of spices because it's a good spice to use. It gives flavor. It's not overly complex.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've just noticed about Tanner is that he's just really easy to get along with, and he just seems to be one of those guys that. And pretty much anyone can just chill and talk with him and connect on some sort of a topic or a theme, with the exception, of course, of like crazy old men when you drive on their rocky driveways. Like there's very few opportunities, and like he doesn't blow up at people when they do get cross with him. He tries to give them the benefit of the doubt, and so it's just one of those that I'd say black pepper because it's like it's a staple. Like that's the kind of person you want to hang out with and be around, whether it's a work environment or a social environment.
So Serenity Spice. Is that what you'd think he would be?
Sure.
Like you're going for the personality spice.
See, then you say Serenity, I think of the TV show and the movie. So Firefly.
No, not me.
Serenity now.
All right.
Or Serenity now.
So in the same vein of Spice Girls that were this is great. He starts naming spices. Tanner. We went with Tanner already. What about Tommy?
Should I be like Googling what the different Spice Girls are?
I think I would look at it as more like what's your impulse?
Yeah,
like,
their personality
adjective
type.
that comes with them. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Not
personality
adjective,
type.
but
Noun, adjective, no, it's
yeah,
adjective.
it is adjective, right? Like, it's just like a one quick word that would come to like for example, if he was to ask me big mofo, I would say foot spice.
I would almost say Tommy is more like Sporty Spice or something.
He does like boats.
That or Tech Spice. I'd call him Tech Spice.
Techie Spice. That's a good one. Yeah.
Techie Spice. Yeah.
All right. Techie Spice. I like that, actually. Okay. Going along with actually people we've met. Big Grant from the Strength Co.
So, would be a good one for him. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is that he's a Marine.
I said the same thing.
So, survival spice. I think he's one of those guys that can survive in any situation. I mean, so that's what I'd call him. I'd call him survival spice.
All right.
He's gonna flourish. He's gonna flourish in any environment. He'll find a way to make it happen.
I agree. Okay. Continuing on, there's two more. And this is
Okay.
feel free to tag one of us in if you just don't have an answer.
Okay.
Dan Bell.
How about Fraggle Rock Spice? But not like the actual little Fraggle Rocks, like the big giant people.
Yeah.
Giant Spice. Giant Spice.
Giant Spice. That's more appropriate.
He's such a big dude.
Giant
it's funny.
Spice. He is. Yeah, he's hilarious.
But he's so fun. Going back to you saying you were hanging out with Thor. So right about the time that Thor announced he was gonna join powerlifting and beat Dan's record, they were at the Arnold together. They had their deadlift party.
Yeah.
I saw that front row. It was awesome.
So I'm having a beer with Dan over at Huck Finn's. I'm trying to remember the details. So I'm at Huck Finn's booth with Dan and my buddy Steve. And half Thor's wife and kids walked by.
Yeah.
And it was just funny because I just turned to him and I was like, hey, go make friends with his kids. Like, it was just so...
Yeah.
I thought that was the
did
funniest. He? Yeah. He just thought it was so funny.
Oh, that would have been cool, though. To be like, hey, your dad's going to try and beat my record. Like,
it's a friendly rivalry.
I hope he does well.
I hope Dan doesn't hate that I told that story, but it was just really funny that we were just
that is funny.
Go say hi to his kids. That was really good. He was super fun. All right.
Really cool.
The last one, not the least one, Jess Bettner.
Oh, that's a tough one because you either want to go with forklift spice or maple syrup spice.
Yeah. Maple spice, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think maple spice is probably it. So if you haven't heard, she's not going to be at the Lift Hard Live Busy Classic.
Yeah, that was me that posted that. I was trying to get a hold of her.
Oh, okay. I reached out to her and she messaged me back. She's like, yeah, I'm not going to make it. And I said, well, we're going to miss you.
Yeah.
And I'll pour out a maple syrup shot for you. So
that's great.
I gotta pick up some maple syrup on the drive out.
The hotel might have some. Well, you're staying at Airbnb though, so somebody might be able to bring a little container.
Yeah, we'll find some somewhere. I just didn't want to buy a Costco size to bring on the trip.
That would be ridiculous. We were looking at some. Me and Steve might. I don't know if he did or not. There was some aged bourbon barrel stuff that he thought about bringing, but I don't know if he. Soon to find out if he made that decision.
Yeah, we'll find out.
All right. So that is my silly question of the week. I got a good laugh. A couple good laughs at Eddie. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you know of this, but we have this game we like to play with every guest called Overrated or Underrated.
Oh, interesting.
Looks like we have a series of hand-picked for Big Eddie the Mole questions.
That's right, the real mole.
The real mole.
Don't forget it. The real mole.
As soon as they announced it was Scans, we all went, nah.
Yep.
No matter how much,
I really enjoyed that people were like, nah, I still think it's Eddie.
Yeah. And it was like the whole thing was revolved around Scans' reveal thing. And then we were all like, nah, it's still Eddie. Like, no, there's nothing you can do to tell us it isn't. That was really funny.
Yeah. That's why the first day of the competition I did the first entry I submitted was me with that one Vindicated song.
That was
Anyway,
good.
yeah. What you got?
I won that competition, by the way.
Good. Yes, you did. You did.
All right. Oh, sorry. Do you need the rules?
No, I'm up on it. I think we've
Okay.
done a lot of time, so let's jump right into it.
So ultimately, no
Lightning
riding the
round
line.
questions.
Yep.
No riding the line, and I have my druthers.
Always got your druthers.
Yeah.
Keith, why don't you ask the
Yeah.
first couple?
Yeah. So this is from our mutual friend, Big Matt Cessny. He
Okay.
asked, Big Eddie, overrated or underrated? 6-gauge TIG root passes. And he says there's a funny story that goes with it because finding something that Eddie might not love was hard. So this was supposed to fit the bill.
Yeah. So TIG in general, the world would probably say it's overrated, but it is not. It is definitely underrated because it is very difficult. Then when you go to like thin material, it can be even more difficult and more difficult and more difficult. And then I've even had stuff where it's like, and me and Matt have talked about this with really thin, really, really thin material that like I've had coworkers be like, "Hey, can we do this or not?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I got to go find out." And I try it, and I'm like, "I'm not saying it can't be done, but I can't do it." So, but at the same time, I enjoy those kind of challenges. That's part of what I love about my job is getting to push the envelope or do something different. So I would say those kind of things are underrated because you never know until you try, and there's always new, inventions and innovation and ideas and things that people come up with. And just because I don't know how to do it doesn't mean you can't do it. Someone probably does know how.
Nice. So just to put it in layman terms, the thing we asked was essentially a type of welding of extremely thin metal. Is that the gist of it? Just for everyone? All right, cool. So moving on to the next overrated, underrated question for Big Eddie. Sparkling waters. What do you think about them?
It's always tricky because it's not just my opinion we're looking at.
You got to use the druthers of what the world thinks.
What's the world's opinion? Because my opinion is that they're overrated.
We heard that.
As far as what the world thinks and our society, I would probably say they're underrated because, when you think about it, for the people who enjoy it, they want something different than just water, but they don't want something that's high calorie, or like a super strong flavor. And I think that's awesome. So in that kind of regard, I think it's fantastic. So even though I don't personally care for it, I think in general, they are underrated as a beverage choice.
We'll allow it. We'll allow that answer. I can do the next one and then toss it over, unless you wanted to take that one, Joey. I'm not sure if you put that in or.
Actually, it was me. All of the remaining ones are me, except for that last one. But we try to keep it to 6 usually.
There's 6 there, Mr. One Eye.
Fuck me, this is bad. All right, in that case, I'll take them because the last couple are me. All right.
Yeah.
Overrated or underrated? Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, that's a tough one. It's extremely popular right now, and for good reason. So it's very, very highly rated. It's highly rated. It's highly rated to the point that people who own Breath of the Wild have said, "I don't know why I would play Breath of the Wild again." Mm-hmm. Like even myself, my son will ask me, "When are we going to play Breath of the Wild?" And I'm thinking, like, I don't know, maybe in 10 years when it's like all new again. No, it's a fantastic game. It's really good. My wife was definitely annoyed with how much I was playing it when it first came out. But it's a new game and it happens. So it's definitely calming down now. And I think it's a lot of fun. I think they did a really great job with it. So for people who are on the fence would probably be the people who say it's overrated and everyone else who's played it says it's underrated. And I'm going to have to go with underrated. I think it's definitely a good buy. If you're into games and if you're into open world concepts and you just like having fun, running around and doing stuff.
Yeah, I can't put it down. I'm probably getting off this podcast recording and going to play it. And that's what I do every night. And then I wake up in the morning thinking, when can I play again? Like it's really fun.
Yeah. And that will eventually fade. And then, you'll go back to playing it like every once in a while, or like me, I'd play Breath of the Wild, like maybe every other week I'd play it.
All right. Overrated or underrated? Caper toss.
I'm going to go with underrated. I'm trying to think of anyone that would think it's overrated. And those are the people who aren't good at tossing them, like myself. Because other than that, everyone loves the caber toss. And the people who don't love it, it's because they don't know about it yet.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to entertaining a crowd, caber toss is king. I've been to big events where it's like North American championships or world championships and stuff. And like they have the caber toss at a specific time of day and they know, and those seats fill up and it gets loud and it gets fun. And even when you're not that good like I am, that's when I'm more likely to actually turn it. It's a really great event. It's much more about balance and speed than it is about overall strength, which is what I tell myself, and but it's a really great event. It's one that people they've always heard something about people picking up trees and throwing them, and it's a great event. So I would definitely say it's underrated.
I enjoy teaching people, though I've never thrown one. But like if it comes on the TV and just explaining to them that, no, it's about making it stand up at noon. Like it's not about flipping the whole thing.
About how the distance or how many times you flip it.
Yeah.
Like we're just trying to flip it once here.
Yeah. I actually had the pleasure of seeing Tom Sroka win the Fergus Festival last year.
Oh, nice.
And it's cool when you said that, like, these are people you can approach. I was going to tell that story is I didn't know anything. I was just like, I want to go to Fergus and watch the heavies. And my wife was like, sure, let's go. So we bought the tickets like 2 weeks in advance and went. And then I'm looking at him and I'm going, I think that's Tom Sroka. And I messaged him on Instagram. I was like, are you at Fergus right now? Because I was going through his posts and he didn't say anything about it. And I guess somebody backed out. So he got a phone call to come.
Yeah.
And he actually came over and hugged and I have one of his shirts from like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's how we started talking. So it's like,
he's a cool dude.
He really is. And that they had the unflippable at Fergus. They had that unflippable that has like all the pooled money. And then every year the money grows until somebody flips it. And I guess Dan McKim was the last one to flip it.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. Him
he's
a beast. Andy Vincent. Most people know Matt Vincent, but Andy Vincent's brother is also a professional Highland game athlete. Oh. And man, that dude can flip cabers. He can flip some cabers. He's really good at it. Yeah. And then of course McKim was known for that. He really put a lot into it. It's a fun event, and there's different parts of it that you have to learn and gain confidence in. And then there's nothing quite like seeing that puppy flip over. It's an adrenaline rush.
It is. Yeah, because I think they did the sheaf toss right after, and everybody was kind of like, At the Arnold, they had fiberglass cavers, and part of
those were terrible.
Yeah,
is that a liability thing, so it doesn't like splinter?
I don't know. I was watching; everybody was failing it. Not a single person I watched could flip that damn thing.
I'd be so fiberglass, like that shit. You get chewed up. Like that's not healthy to like.
It was padded, obviously. I think that's why. Right? I don't know what it was, but
sounds horrible.
Nobody could flip it. We were sitting there watching, and I was like, I think that's fiberglass. Like, no wonder nobody cares. Like, nobody.
Caber is one of those events that sometimes they just don't have a good caber for your division.
Yeah.
Because cabers are not easy to get. No one sells them, so you got to like find the wood. You got to chop them down. You got to get the bark off. You got to sand them down. You got to finish them. It takes a lot of work, and people just don't do it. And then some cabers get really old and worn out and they break, and then there goes that competition caber. Or you get an inexperienced thrower, and if you throw it wrong, it's really easy to break them. So yeah, it's definitely one of those that having good cabers is very difficult, and it's sometimes, unfortunately, it happens where like the best caber for a group is too big, and no one can turn it. Or it's just a little bit too little, and everyone turns it. Like yeah. So it's caber is a lot of fun, but it's definitely difficult. It's not like finding a rock. It's a lot easier to find a rock, and that's its own journey in itself.
Yeah, rocks is just like that. They're there on the ground.
Yeah, but you want to get it like 16 pounds on the nose,
Yeah.
and you got to have good shape, and you got to have a good handhold, and you don't want any rough spots that's going to cut your skin. And no, it's finding the perfect throwing rock is a whole nother adventure. It takes a lifetime of pursuit.
Okay. Underrated or overrated Mohawk hairstyles?
I'm going to say they're underrated. But the world, and that's based on the fact that the world probably thinks they're overrated. And I'm going to say, no, you're wrong. It's you are underrating how awesome it is. I've really enjoyed having, this is my third summer doing it. But like even before that, 3-4 years ago, I think I got a Mr. T wig, and I was Mr. T for Halloween. And that was like in California. And even then people were like, can you do that? And I'm like, I don't know why I can't. Like, I'm honoring him. Like, I think he's awesome, and who knows, someone can feel free to correct me and send me a message, but I still don't have a problem being Mr. T for Halloween. You just put on the wig and my gold chains and go have fun. But yeah, so I started doing it for Highland Games, as there's one in Pennsylvania that is at a Renaissance festival location, and they do a Celtic festival every summer. And I kind of wanted to do it, and I knew that some people would frown on it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing this for entertainment. I want to. If people want to judge me, they can judge me. And so I went after it, and I've just really enjoyed having it. And my wife loves it. She thinks I look really good with it. And I get compliments from a lot of people, and some people don't say anything and just look at me funny, and I don't really care. So I have a lot of fun with it. I mean, so I like it. It's definitely not something that I'll ever keep year round.
Yeah.
And but I enjoy it. And it was funny this summer because it was such a warm spring that it was like April, and I normally don't cut it till June, right before that competition. And I was like mowing the yard, and it's hot out, and I'm like, I want my mohawk. Like, it's too hot for this. I'm like, why don't I have my mohawk yet? So no, I really enjoy having it.
I actually
So
think
I've
that
got one
came.
now.
I actually think that came
Go
from
ahead.
Big Jen. I think that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I think she wanted to ask about faux hawks.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel
There
about
was-
those? Like, how you've had I'll say you've got the commitment real
Right now I
mohawk.
have a commitment.
to the real
Yeah,
mohawk.
right.
So how do you
Yeah,
feel about
I've
people
I've
not
had both.
willing to do that? Okay.
I don't have a problem with it. It's one of those that like it's like, even as it is right now, it's probably too extreme for my career position. Like, it's not something that if we had an annual meeting with my customers, upper management, it'd probably be good for me to have a mohawk. It would raise some eyebrows, and could embarrass my coworkers. So I'll probably, so I think it really depends on what you have going on in your life. And that's just part of playing the game with some of the things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So this will probably turn into a faux hawk pretty soon, as we have some friends that we're going to a wedding later on in the fall that I need to make sure that I look more appropriate for. And then we have a big fabrication convention in September that I need to look professional for. And, having a faux hawk is a way to still have fun without it being,
That's fair.
without raising too many questions.
And yeah, we gotta. I remember when I first grew my beard, and I work in customer service, and I got the whole like, well, are you approachable? Are you professional? I was like, uh-huh. And then I just got so good at the job that eventually, like, I'd tell them, this is clearly not in the way of doing my job. Can you shut up? And that's essentially what happened, right? Like, I can see where you're coming from, because also at the same time, like, I also don't let it grow the way I want to. I don't want it to be right all the way out, because I still think there are certain, not conditions, but like there's just certain things you don't do. So I can still have the beard, but it's got to look like I did it on purpose, not just got lazy.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to take care of it. You got to take care of yourself.
So I see what you're
know?
saying. Where like, because I don't agree with the whole. I hate dress codes. Well, I can go on about that for days.
Yeah.
I hate dress codes. I think that they're just a thing of the past. If it's not in the way of me doing my job, shut up. Right? As long as I fit in with everybody around me. I see what you're saying with that. All right.
Yeah.
Last but not least, this one's for all the marbles, and we'll see whether we end this episode or not.
Yeah.
Overrated or underrated crew meetups?
Definitely underrated. That's an easy one. Crew meetups are awesome. So I guess we didn't talk about this before. In like the last 7-8 years, I've probably moved like 8-9 times. And a lot of that was college, like leaving college, going to internships or, the summer off or whatever, and then coming back. But I've moved a lot, and, it's not always easy to make friends. Like you can be social and you can like get along with people, but like to find like good friends, like a true friend is not easy. And I think that applies to everybody, that it's not easy to find those true friends that you can really understand each other. And I really struggled with that in college because it was like, no, I get along with you guys. Like, let's go hang out. And they're like, no, it's okay. And like high school was brutal for me. Like my best friends lived in the next town over, and that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that I really like about this online community is that we all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different walks of life, but we all find the same stuff. We enjoy the same thing. We have that same thread, that commonality that brings us together. And it's like, like we don't talk religion and politics. And like, I know that I don't share the same views as a lot of people. But that doesn't matter because that's not what we're there to talk about. We're there to have fun. We're there to lift some weights. This weekend we're gonna have a great crew meetup where we're gonna eat a lot of food, which I'm always a big fan of. We're gonna lift a lot of weights, which I'm always a big fan of. And we're gonna have fun and get to see some people and meet some people for the first time. I'm super excited about that. Every crew meetup I've had has just been a pleasure. And there was one guy I know that used to say that you should never meet your heroes because you'll always be disappointed. Well, he's the kind of guy that would disappoint people when they met him. So
good
after
point.
dealing with that guy in my life, I was like, you know what? Screw him. If I want to meet someone, I'm going to meet him. Like one of the best guys I've ever met and hung out with is Steve Slater, and I went to Slater's Hardware in Lancaster, Ohio, because I knew that it was the famous place where he made strongman equipment. And it just so happened he was there. And we talked for 2 hours. And like, we message each other now. Like, I've gone to dinner with him and his wife before. Like, he's the coolest guy ever, and like, I'm still trying to get him on the podcast. And hopefully one of these days that'll happen. But like, I mean, Keith, we've met him multiple times. Waffle Iron, like I could live down the street from Waffle Iron and I don't think I'd ever get sick of it. That guy, man, he is awesome. And I can say that about everybody in the crew, and I've really enjoyed it and I'm very excited for this weekend. My wife asked me what was my favorite, thing I'm looking forward to. And of course I told her it's the tour of the Old West Barbecue Factory. And because that's kind of been a thing, like I guess it's a running joke that when I get there, I'm going to go tour the Old West Barbecue Factory. And and that it probably will happen, but no, I'm very excited to meet up with everybody. I'm very excited to hang out, have some fun. The last powerlifting meet I didn't know anybody, and it was really kind of lame because no one would even like talk to me. And whereas with this one, I know it's going to be the opposite.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely underrated. I would say that if you have a chance to meet up with someone, do it. If you're kind of shy, just remember if you get along with their personality online, you're going to get along with them in person.
Yeah.
Like it's going to happen. I know it's a crazy idea, but you're going to get along with them in person. If you're uncomfortable, there are precautions you can do, meet in public place, different things like that. No big deal. No one's going to care, but
you shouldn't be meeting with somebody you're uncomfortable with anyway, right? Like
exactly.
Right. I wasn't afraid of meeting anybody. Yeah.
No.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to go to strangers' houses and just walk into their basement, deliver Stomachs. It's fine, guys. Everything will be okay. There's no problem with that. No, I think we all share Eddie's sentiment about this weekend, and we're all looking forward to it. And we're listening to this. Hopefully everyone had the good time that we are all anticipating that we should be having.
I hope none of us disappoint you.
Yeah.
Listening to this and being like, nah, man, that Joey, he's a dick. And
No, I think I will leave the zoo before anyone drinks enough to disappoint me.
That's the spirit. All right, it looks like you passed overrated, underrated. Congratulations!
Oh, sweet,
nice. We can let Nate go ahead and edit this and get it out for next week.
Yeah, I don't have the cool beans button.
You're supposed to work on something.
Well, he sent me a thing, and it was like needed all these permissions and rerouting. And I know we're joking, and I'm getting more technical, but like I started trying to install it, and then it asked me like 3 more things. I'm just like, fuck that. Like, pardon my language. Sorry, Eddie. I was just like, F that. Like, I'm out of here. I think that was actually my first swear this entire episode.
Yeah, I think I dropped a few. I failed earlier.
I'll just have to get Nate to assure me it's not trying to eat my computer. That's all. Like, just. But I have an idea. It's not a cool beans, but it's something similar.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. So the next part, I think, is one of Keith's favorites.
Yeah, Eddie, do you have anything prepared that you would like to ask Joey or Keith? That's 3 weeks in a row. I mentioned myself in that person. What you got for us, buddy?
I thought long and hard about this, and I would like to know if either of you have like a favorite board game or card game you like to play.
Two that we've been two active ones. Well, because they're just like I guess they're favorite. Blokus is really fun. It's like a block. Yeah. My wife and I play Blokus every now and then, and
That's a good one.
Spot It. I think we've been playing a little bit. It's kind of like you have to match. There's a bunch of little cards, and there's like 7 or 8 pictures on it, and 2 of them match, but the 2 that match are in different sizes. So you have to be the first one to spot the matching image. There's multiple ways to play it.
Okay.
But those are our 2. Like if we're gonna actually sit down and play, a together game, we don't really have people over. They're like multiple person, big in-depth board games.
Yeah.
Catchphrase was my favorite back in the day, though. When we would have a big dinner party. Catchphrase was the best.
That's a good one. Oh yeah, very good.
But I won't ramble
anymore. What about you, Big
Joey?
I used to enjoy Cards Against Humanity back before everything was going on, and you could go out. I bought a bunch of them, and we'd go out to the pub. Right? We would just have nights. We would go and book the upstairs, and we would just play, and people could join if they wanted, strangers and stuff. But obviously, having a family that's not, viable. Yeah. The kids aren't coming and listening to us play that game. Not really. I'm not a board game person. I played chess a lot in my younger days, but I lack the foresight to play chess well.
Oh,
so I got this one recently. I got an ad on Instagram for it. It's called Base Camp, and it's essentially just a deck of cards that have questions on them. And they're not like silly or anything. They're like personal questions. Like, tell me something you regret you never did or something like that. So Morgan and I were playing just Go Fish.
That would be cool.
And every time you lay down the card, you had to honestly answer the question on there. And I think if you had a bigger group, that would be really fun, especially, people getting vulnerable, people opening up about themselves and their past. Obviously, boundaries can be set where you're like, you know what, that's traumatic. I want to talk. Like, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. But I think that's the most recent one I got into.
Well, I think that one would also be really good for continuing those date night activities with your spouse. Yeah, that sounds like that's something I should look into. That'd be good.
Don't sleep on the date nights. They are winners.
Now that the kids are old enough, they really enjoy going to their grandparents in the city. Nice. So it's one of those, well, do you guys have 2 hours? Can we drop them off and me and her can go for dinner or something? And the parents are like, yes, that sounds great. Nothing more than 3 or 4 hours because they're still only like 2 and 4. So, but date nights are important.
That's awesome. Good. Cool.
Thanks for asking. Was that the only one?
That was it. I'm a big board game guy, so
we did know that.
I like the social interaction.
We did know that, but we didn't know how to get it into the conversations.
Yeah, we build a bunch of show notes. Your wife gave
Oh
us a
yeah.
ton of stuff. We really appreciate that. And we had 3 or 4 people each give us like and it seems like everyone always floods us with overrated, underrated. And like, well, we can only pick 6, and then it's like, how does
Yeah.
how does this one random thing that you want to know about and fit into a actual question that segues into other things? Because it's like I think we are getting better at like I always like to like if anyone like when we're just doing our interview if the guest even mentions something remotely close that I can like segue into the next question. It's just it always is like the other host chimes in with something else, or the guest already like basically talks about the thing you were about to ask, and you're like, damn it, missed my opportunity. But this has all been evolving. This is I think in all honesty, this is our 11th or 12th episode recording, and it's been a blast. So I'm glad to get you on here. We tried to get Big Eddie on here at least a month or so ago, and with his travel schedule, it just didn't work out. And then we had a long list of other guys kind of getting on. So
before we wrap up, I figured that's where you were going, so I wanted to interrupt. I know I don't love interrupting you, but I figured you were going to wrap up. I want to ask a question. One of the things that Stephanie did send us was that you enjoy games you can win. And not that you beat other people. It's really something we spoke a little about last week, and if this is a little high level, just let me know. So I think that there's 2 types of games, and this is something I learned at my leadership convention last week. Okay, there's your finite game. And your finite game has a set amount of rules, a set amount of players, and a known ending.
Okay.
And then there's the infinite game where the players are unknown, the rules are unknown and constantly changing, and there is no actual end in sight. So games like Risk or things like that, those would be finite games, right?
Yeah.
Are there any infinite games you enjoy? So when I said Base Camp, that's an infinite game. You can never stop playing that game. Now, the reason we learned about it was obviously in a business sense. You have your infinite game.
Yeah.
We are here to beat our competitor, or you have the infinite game, which is Apple, which is just like, we're just here to be the best we can be. And like, there's the 2 separate versions of that. But is there like a board game that's infinite? Like, is Monopoly technically infinite?
No,
because
it ends in bankruptcy and one people. That's actually like one of my least favorite games.
Yeah, me too.
I like playing Monopoly. I don't know if I can think of an infinite game. I mean, like
weightlifting's an infinite game, isn't it?
It is, but at the same time, you're still working towards goals.
Yep.
Like you could take a game and make it infinite by not like keeping score. Like you can be playing one-on-one or whatever, and just play and play and play, or you can just, I mean, even like I think of like throwing frisbees back and forth or playing catch, like, but even then there's still a finite purpose into what you're doing. So I'm not really for sure if I have any infinite games that I like. I don't know. That's funny. I'm curious that the way you said that, how I like to play games that I win. Because like I obviously enjoy winning, but
that's not how I meant. I meant the royal you.
Oh, okay.
Like the games that have a set winner at the end.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I definitely like that.
I don't know if that's what Stephanie meant. I don't know if Stephanie was telling you that you like to dominate games, but I don't. I didn't get the notes. But no, it just reminded me.
If anyone wants to play Risk in Aberdeen, you just let me know and I'll go buy it. Because I'm a big fan of Risk. But no, I just enjoy playing games. I remember in my 20s, I had people over. We'd invite friends over on like the weekend to play games and hang out and stuff. And I remember we were doing, I don't know what game we were playing, but I lost pretty bad and I was upset about it. And I was like, reflecting on it. And I'm like, why am I upset? Like, I got to play a game with my friends. And I was like, and then my thought was like, well, it sounds like I need to play games more often if I'm putting that much emotion into one game. Yeah. Like if I played games every weekend, that I wouldn't care if I won or lost, So I love playing games and I just don't get to do it that often. And especially, as life continues on and gets busier and busier. But yeah, I'll have to think more about that infinite stuff. I think life is the ultimate infinite, that.
Yeah.
there's always something new, and
Well,
everything that you think is going to happen probably isn't, but it's going to change before it gets to that finite goal that you're working towards.
Yeah, I don't like getting too high level on this. I don't want this to be like a podcast bro thing, but his name is Simon Sinek, and he wrote a book called The Infinite Game. And it's mostly about business, but like it does kind of apply. You can apply it to a lot of aspects of your life. So
check it out.
With that said, thanks for tuning in to this week's Unpaid and Underrated. Keith, do you want to see us out this week?
Yeah, no, gotcha. So go ahead and follow the podcast on Instagram. You can find us at Unpaid and Underrated Podcast. Go ahead and check out the website, unpaidinternpodcast.com. And do yourself a favor and just grow your social media crew following. That was a big thing I tried to do in one of the Discords. I tried to get a bunch of people that was going to the podcast to post their Instagram. I think I got like 4 or 5 new follows and vice versa. Just people that, were going to go to the meet I'd never heard of. I was like, oh, I'm going to follow this guy. I want to, I'm always trying to follow as many crew, especially when I see they follow our podcast. It always makes it a little bit easier to click the follow back. Mm-hmm. It's like, yep, it's kind of like an automatic. So go ahead and follow all those places to find us. I'm one of your hosts, Big Keith. You can find me at KeithHoneycutt73. Go follow my gym at the No Wine Cellar, and then go follow let my buddy here give his closing speech before I introduce him. Sorry, I'm zoning out. I'm dying.
It's okay. I can only see it in one eye.
I hit a wall a couple minutes ago, and I'm just like, yeah.
It's all right. I'm Joey. You can find me at Joey_Malesko, MLECZKO. But follow the podcast as well. Most of what I post on the podcast is very different from my personal, because I find I just have the luxury of being pure silly on the Unpaid and Underrated podcast. And of course, Big Eddie, where can we find you?
At Cornfed Highlander. You can find your favorite Highland Game athlete who is from Nebraska and eats a lot of corn, and that's why he's so big. So check out Cornfed Highlander. At Cornfed Highlander. It's pretty easy to find.
He's got that corn strength.
Yeah, buddy. It
looks like we're just wrapping up and Big Matt couldn't make it this week. We really tried really hard to get him on there. He said, hey, if Big Eddie's on, I'm coming on.
We're gonna have to corner him this weekend.
Yeah, we'll have to really talk to him and
settle this whole civil war.
All right. And as far as I'm concerned, that's it for this week.
All right, boys. We'll see you next Tuesday.